By now, everything was very chaotic. It was midway through 1575 and the daimyo were fighting against each other in intense battles. However, one daimyo stood out among the rest of them, and his name was Oda Nobunaga. All I really knew about him was that he drove out the last Ashikaga shogun, and he encouraged the Christian missionaries, while at the same time he tried to destroy Buddhist influences and its standing as a political force. It seemed like his goal of uniting Japan would soon be fulfilled. It was now 1585, and the name Toyotomi Hideyoshi was the name spoken by everyone at the time. He was now the man in charge of Japan ever since Nobunaga was murdered about 3 years ago in 1582. Although Nobunaga was a daimyo himself, his goals were a little different than the others, seeing as how he was trying to unite Japan as a whole rather than just gain power. Soon enough, there were battles on Shikoku and Kyushu, and Hideyoshi walked away victorious against the daimyo residing there. Time went on, and before I knew it, the year was 1590, and Hideyoshi had successfully united nearly all of Japan. The missionaries who visited here now were risking their entire lives. 3 years ago, Hideyoshi became very harsh towards them, and issued an edict that expelled the Christian missionaries from the area. It seemed like Japan's once healthy relationship with Christianity was never going to be the same, it was never going to improve. However, Toyotomi promoted the idea of foreign trade as well as strengthening the feudal system of Japan. It was now 1591, and apparently Hideyoshi just recently issued his edict on changing status to follow the Soredan he issued in 1588.
Soredan?
Yeah, the Soredan. It was basically just Hideyoshi wanted to make distinct separations between the class structures. So he denied commoners' weapons and allowed the nobles to keep theirs, which was basically the samurai class. Apparently, he wasn't the first one to issue it. Nobunaga issued one during his rule too, but Hideyoshi mainly wanted to stop any peasant revolts that would happen and to make rebels against the government unable to fight back with just brute force.
What was the edict about?
Well, it was divided into 3 different parts. The first stated that any warrior who returned to his normal village life was to be expelled, and second stated that villagers weren't allowed to become townspeople or to become engaged in trade, and the third basically banned the hire of samurai who abandoned their previous lords.
That seems harsh.
Yeah, I know. I was actually scared to be accused of breaking those laws, and Hideyoshi was actually able to separate the line between samurai and peasant status even further, and to condemn anyone who crossed that line. And the social status of Japan suddenly became just very rigid, and it literally destroyed the concept of the G-samurai.
G-samurai? You mean like the samurai of the land?
Just the one. The G-samurai were basically the samurai who took care of the land and soil after they were busy with the duties of war and battle. A few years passed by, and soon the year 1597 came along. The persecution of Christian missionaries seemed to have been at its highest at this point. Hideyoshi prohibited any conversions to any other religion brought by the missionaries, and then executed 26 Franciscans as a word of warning. Not only did this anger them, the Jesuits and Franciscans began to act intolerant and aggressive towards Buddhist and Shinto institutions. It seemed like this new era forced for the isolation of Japan from the West. So many years have gone by, and I haven't aged a single day. But even with all this experience, I was still unfamiliar with who a samurai truly was. It was 1630, and I was currently in Kumamoto, Japan, and I still did not know how to live in such an ancient society as a samurai. So I took a quick walk through the city looking for answers when I saw a particular man that had caught my eye, for he was alone and was separated from the rest of the world. He looked as if he was a samurai, so I went up to him and asked if he could enlighten me about the samurai. He told me many things, important things about the samurai. He told me,
distinguish between gain and loss in worldly matters. Develop intuitive judgment. and understanding for everything. Receive those things which cannot be seen. Do nothing which is of no use.
He then left me without saying anything more. 15 years later, in 1645, I learned that I had spoken to a man considered to have been the greatest samurai of Japan, Miyamoto Musashi. The advice he had given me was in the book he had written before he had died, the Book of Five Rings.
I think that's it. Jeez, okay. I think that really helped. It helped me get a lot off my chest. It's alright, it's good. It's good. You sleep tight. I will. Not another dream. Not another dream.
I love you. I love you. You need a hug. You need a hug. I love you.
Can you see the papers underneath the table?
I can see your butt just fine. Move it a little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah, you're on a swing. Woo!